Sorry about that. I forgot to hit that when we started. So those just joining us from home, we approved the minutes and then moved through roads and bridges with no significant updates, and we're now on public works. So apologies for not hitting that earlier. Yeah, so as far as the post office 98 Main Street goes, it's really just a waiting game for them to come back with some sort of a response to any of our various offers to engage them on that. But when the time comes, if there is action that needs doing, I appreciate the offer, and we'll definitely reach out if there's stuff that we can, move forward on with them.
Okay.
And then as far as the public safety building, the renovation committee work goes, I don't believe they've met again yet since we last had an update from them. Although I don't know if Mark, if you've touched base with Liz or anybody on that.
No, I haven't. So yeah, I'm not sure if they met again or what's going on. Yeah, I think they're still researching some stuff. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's the only items we had on the agenda for buildings and grounds. I don't know, Mark, did you have anything else for buildings and grounds?
Aaron sent me a message today. Of course, my understanding for the town hall was that we were gonna leave the heat on in the basement. We drained everything upstairs and shut the heat off upstairs. So that's why we got a couple propane bills for the Grange Hall, for the town hall. So that's, yeah. But my understanding was we were leaving the heat on in the basement. So that's what we did.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my understanding too, is we were going to leave the heat on down there, turned low, but just to ensure that we didn't have any problems. Because in past years with the heat off, even with things drained, we have had some issues with things breaking. So
yeah, I think it's better for the building too to keep a little bit of heat on down there. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, if that's it for buildings and grounds, we can move on to Water Commission. Do you have any updates, Mark, on any of the operational stuff going on or anything that we should be aware of?
Our float sensor in the Route 242 tank has stopped working. I've been filling the tank, running the pumps manually to keep the tank full. So I called one of the techs, and sounds like I'll have to order a new probe. Sounds like the probe might be gone, so I've got to look into that. And but I'm going to have them come out in the spring and just go through all the sites, which hasn't been done, and just check everything and schedule something, once spring gets here, just to check everything out. But so as far as, everything's running, so I'm keeping the tanks full. So it's just more of a hassle, but we're getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say get them to come out in the spring, was there somebody specific you're talking about?
Yeah, there is. It's this Ray Racine. He does all the telemetry, and he hasn't been out in like 5 or 6 years, and just to check everything out, and probably could have prevented this from happening. He might have been able to see some things that we might be able to prevent, and might have to replace a few things. So I just wanted him to come out and go through everything, try to do some preventive maintenance. Yeah.
Great. Any other updates as far as the water department goes?
No, that's it for that. Yeah.
Okay, great. The next item just underwater was just the Reagan Road Pump Station project. I've reached out, I don't know if we've talked about this in this setting or not, but I did reach out to the landowner in question who will need to get the easement for as far as getting power up to the Reagan Road Pump Station. I just need to get back to them with a little bit more detail, a map or a photo showing the placement of some poles, the 2 poles that we need to go in. I haven't had a chance to actually put that together and email it back to them, but I'm hoping to do that tomorrow or Wednesday so that we can get their green light on getting that easement paperwork done. At this point, Mark, would they be would they still try to execute on that now, or would they just wait until the spring to put the poles in and do that work? Whoops, you just muted yourself, so you want to go back to unmute. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I still think they might try to do it. I'm not sure if the ground's frozen or, but I think they might still try to do it. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Evan.
Okay.
So they might try to at least set the poles, you know. But it's been pretty cold, so I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it now or wait till spring. It's almost, we're not too far away, so hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. If there's nothing else underwater, we can move on to the Longley Bridge Tap Project. All right, not hearing anything else regarding water. So just update on the Longley Bridge tap project. Again, that's the Transportation Alternatives Program. That's the grant that we're using to do the Longley Bridge bank stabilization work. I heard back from Linda today. We're still working on getting the deed of easement just in there for the work. The first batch of paperwork and stuff that we had come through, we had omitted some steps that the state needs to have in there as far as determining a value of the easement and some stuff like that. We didn't realize the requirements were there. So we had to go back and do that and then go back to the landowner with some updated paperwork there. So things are moving forward just to get all of our ducks in a row so that when spring comes, we should be able to jump right onto that project and get everything taken care of. With the August something completion date, I think we've got like an August 10th, 12th, 15th or something completion date we have to have it done by per Army Corps. So things are still moving forward there. Anybody have any questions on that project?
So she still didn't know when it was going out to bid. Of course, probably waiting for these easements first, probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
she did not know when it was going to go to bid, but she did say that she was starting to get the different odds and ends together for it. So I'll make a note here just to follow up with Linda.
Because I know a lot of contractors try to get things lined up the next couple months, so get it on their schedules. Yeah.
I will. I'll shoot her a note tomorrow morning and just see if we have an estimated date for when that'll go out.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. All right. If that's it for Longley Bridge, that brings us through Public Works. Anything else under Public Works anybody's got for discussion tonight? Okay, great. I will note that we did have a nice email from a landowner up on West Hill, just thanking the road crew for doing a little bit of extra sanding up around the snowplow turnaround to help with some traction where the Bass Trail comes in. I think I forwarded it to the Public Works Department email so that you'll see it there marked too. So it's just always nice when folks reach out with, kind words.
Yes, that's always good.
Yeah.
Not the bad ones. Yes.
Yeah. Although we'll listen to those too, right? Great. Cool. So that brings us through Public Works to visitors. And so I'll just go around the horn for what I've got here. Sue, do you have anything for visitors?
The only thing, I just wanted to thank the road crew for taking down the banners and the wreaths in a very timely manner. And that's it. Just thank them.
That was kind of ironic, Sue, when you called the garage, we were out there taking them down to the village already. When you left your message at the garage, I got back to the garage and I saw your message and I'm like, well, we're already
and I just called because I thought, well, I should tell them, get them down. If you can get them down by the end of the month, that would be great. And the next thing I know, you're up here on 242. I was like, holy crow.
Yes. Well, it was a nice day, so we said we better get it done.
Well, thank you. Thank the guys.
So we'll keep going around. Merle, you're the next one on my screen. So floor is yours. Merle, the floor is yours if you'd like to come on for visitors.
Oh, yeah, I know they're, if our, my system, guys keep cutting out for length of time, don't hear anything. No, don't really have anything. I guess for the time we talk, ports available yet. Are the
Sorry,
town-
I missed.
Are the town reports available yet?
No, the town reports are not available yet. They're scheduled to go to the printer, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday. And then the date of availability is, sorry, I'm just trying to find here. So February 19th. So February 19th is the last day to make them available, but if we get them to the printer by Wednesday or Thursday of this week, we should have them turned around by the following week. So we're hoping that we should have them, you know, in hand by like the 15th or 16th, maybe.
Yeah, okay, all right. I guess that streetscape, nothing's happening with that money or that project.
So you cut out there at the end, Merle, but yeah, so the streetscape project, we still do have that planning grant that we're just gonna start executing on, you know, now. The first part of that, just given that it's federal and state money tied together, we need to go through a contractor selection process. So it's basically an RFP goes out for a design consultant that then would come in. And so the plan is to use those planning dollars to do a much better refining of those initial kind of sketches that we had. So what this would do is it would allow survey work to go figure out, you know, what actually fits where, as opposed to using kind of aerial photography and using that to kind of sketch it. So that is still moving forward there. The plan is that once we can get some more clarity on kind of the actual survey of the area, then we would re-engage that public information process that's kind of been stalled a little bit due to COVID. But hopefully if we come out into the spring and we can get together in the Grange Hall again, we'll come back and start looking at design features and really kind of digging into what is it that folks want. You know, is it a one-way thing there or is it parking there? So that's the status on the streetscapes work.
Now, I don't know if you have heard, but a lot of talk of probably one of the best things that could happen for the town is at the rec center with that money. And that would be to make a very safe path, bicycle and pedestrian from the center around that curve by either going through it, cutting it back with a wall. You know, they have very attractive retaining walls that go above 15, 20 feet high. And then the rec center itself, parking during them ball games is atrocious.
Yeah.
And move back, parking there, the parking lot enlarged perhaps. A lot could be done, and that would be such a tremendous benefit to the town. So, you know, we have the, if you have the general public meeting again, hopefully it can be discussed further.
Yeah, totally. I know that the corner there has definitely been discussed. I don't recall the parking lot enlargement coming up, but I think you've got a great idea there as far as actually increasing the parking area inside the rec center, because that's always full. And like you said, whether it's a ball game or summer sessions, up and down, it's not a good place to have cars double parked on the street.
Yeah, but you know, sidewalks maybe that's already proposed in that project, and then take that other money and put it in that rec center, between the center and the rec center itself. I think that would really, it would be a tremendous benefit, something worth doing for the town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, like I said, hopefully when we can re-engage that public input process and start actually putting things on walls and looking at them together, we'll definitely bake that into the discussion for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Mark. So I've got one other screen on here that's just labeled as Sue. So Sue, you're welcome to come off, and if you've got anything for visitors, the floor is yours.
No, it's Sue Bennett and just listening.
Okay, thanks so much, Sue.
Thank you.
Great. So what we're going to do now is we'll move on to old business. So the first item here is the wastewater and the streetscape projects. So we just touched on kind of the streetscape work. Like we discussed, the next kind of thing that we need to do there is go through that at the ready contractor selection process to get the design consultant in to start doing the survey work. Again, that's all funded through a transportation alternatives program grant that we've got. So the hope is that we'll get the design consultant hired or figured out this month. There's a process we have to go through to do that. But if we can get them locked in, you know, February, early March, we should be able to hit the ground running this spring with boots on the ground work and then getting the kind of community engagement stuff back together. On the wastewater project side of the ledger, at one of our last regular meetings, we've had between budget committee and hearings and other stuff, I can't really remember which is which, but at one of our last regular meetings, we did discuss the financing framework that had come together. And so what I do have tonight is a spreadsheet that I want to share with the board to take a look at. That can hopefully kind of make a little bit more sense of some of the numbers that I had brought up last time. Looks like Suzanne is cutting in and out. Might be a bad internet connection. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay with folks. And I'm going to walk through the financing framework for this project that we discussed last time. So can everybody see my screen okay? The spreadsheet that's up here? Yep, thumbs up. Yeah, okay, great. So I just want to walk through these numbers just so you can look at them. We talked about them last time, but I just want to kind of walk through them so you can see in here. But again, the overall project cost, line 2 right here that we're looking at is 11.8 million. And again, this is the wastewater project separating out the streetscape end of the work as we look to kind of what we're going to do there. So 11.8 million is the project cost as it stands now. As a reminder, we do have that USDA grant for a little over $6 million. That was part of the grant loan package. This is the grant portion of that. So a little over 6 million. This is one of the new things. So if you'll recall, we had an Nbrc, Northern Borders Regional Commission grant for a little over, well, it was about this amount of money, actually. We received that. One of the conditions of that money was that we had a cap on how much federal dollars could go towards this project. That cap was at 80%, and we were well above that cap. And so what that meant is that we had an issue with using that money towards the project. After a number of conversations with the state, both DEC and then going all the way up to the governor's office, the state has awarded us a grant using ARPA funds in the same amount of what the Nbrc grant would have given us. So we actually de-obligated the Northern Borders Regional Commission money and replaced it with this ARPA grant from the state, which freed us from those percentage conditions. So ARPA grant number 1 is that right here. Land acquisition is a note right here. One of the things with the ARPA money is that we need to start getting it out the door relatively quickly. We have to have things obligated by the end of 2024 and the funds spent by the end of 2026. So one potential use of the ARPA dollars in grant 1 was for land acquisition costs. We're trying to hammer that out this week with the engineers as to where the money can best go, but that's one area we can look at. So as a reminder, we also have an additional $250,000 through a Clean Water State Revolving Fund subsidy that we have that we're just starting to draw upon now. We also had the $30,000 from USDA in that search grant. This was some early money that came in that we've already used. Again, this is a grant. Again, the subsidy is a subsidy. It's not to be repaid. So we're still operating on, free and clear money. CDS, this is the congressionally designated spending request that we submitted. It was through Senator Sanders' office. It has gone through committee and has been approved. It is now just waiting for an appropriations bill to come through Congress. That continuing resolution that they passed, I think, runs out sometime in the middle of this month. So the hope / expectation is that they will actually pass a real budget in the next month or two, and this will be included in it. There's a whole host of other federal programs that need to get funded that this is tied in with. So it's kind of a must-pass thing for the feds, and so hopefully they'll do that soon. But that's what the CDS is in the amount of 2.8. Line 8 here, this is ARPA Grant 2. So back when the tax rate question failed at town meeting last year, that left a sizable gap in the project budget that we needed to fill somehow. After a lots of conversations with the state, DEC, going all the way up to the governor's office, the state has announced a week or two ago that they will offer us a second ARPA grant in the amount of 1.4 million. 1.4 million here. This is that number. They have also said that they will backstop that at 4.25 million in the case that the congressionally designated spending request does not come through. So what that means is the state has basically said they will give us a second ARPA grant, at least 1.4 million. They will go as high as 4.2 million if the CDS request falls through, making the project whole. So these numbers here are basically how we're going to get up to the 11.8 with the final loan amount at $703,000. Now the plan is to essentially use all of the grant money that we've got and then immediately close on the USDA loan. Remember, they had a loan to go along with this grant dollar amount up here. We'll immediately close on that loan and refinance it through the state's Clean Water State Revolving Fund in the amount of $703,000. That will also free us up from other federal money issues so that none of the other grant dollars are held against us. Happy to get into more detail on that, but it gets pretty wonky pretty quickly. So anyway, we're looking at a final loan amount of $703,000. It's that low because this money right here, this ARPA grant 2, is what we're going to use to basically make a massive balloon payment on the loan right after it closes with USDA. So that first loan closes, we make a balloon payment using the state's ARPA grant. The second one, that gets our final loan amount down to $700,000. That's at a 2% interest rate over 30 years. And so what we're looking at is an annual debt service payment of $31,400 and annual O&M costs of about $66,000. That means the annual cost for the system would be $97,000. The local option tax, when we did the study of the local option tax, we're looking at an estimated $35,000 annually coming in for the system. That will more than cover the annual debt payment. So that's why we have that charter amendment or proposal on the warning for town meeting, because we need to have that charter in place in order to be able to levy the local option tax. So the local option tax will cover the debt service. If we come down to line 16, again, we see the annual user cost at $62,800 spread over the 166 users that we have currently. This doesn't include future users. That gives us an annual user rate estimated at $378. If you look at mean household income for Montgomery, that means we're just above 1% of mean household income as far as what the annual payment for users would be. Happy to email this around to board members. There's also going to be a summary of this with these numbers in the town report. But this, I just wanted to kind of show you the numbers in real time as we look at this. as to where the money's coming from, how we're going to do it, and then again, how this final part breaks out down here. I will say that we've got 94% of this project, line 23, 94% of the project cost is being paid for by state and federal dollars. That's not local money, and the local money would come from the local option tax, which some would come from locals, you know, as part of doing things, but a fair amount of that will come from the meals and rooms tax, or the rooms tax, which is not locals. So I'm pretty sure that no other community in the state has ever been able to put together a project budget like this as far as what the exposure is to the municipal budget. So again, this will all go in the town report. I wanted to just show it tonight because we had talked about it, but we hadn't actually looked at numbers on a screen. So that's where we're at now. Any questions on this spreadsheet before I pull it down?
If I may, Charlie, are interest rates locked in?
Yes, the interest rate. Yes, the interest rate is locked in. Yep.
But pretty likely feds are going to raise rates.
Yes, that's what it is looking like. They're going to do that pretty soon. But this interest rate is locked in that we've got. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I'll pull the screen share back down. But again, that's basically the capital stack to get this project done so that there's no impact on the municipal tax rate as far as debt service goes. And that the debt service is covered by the local option tax revenue. And then the O&M is covered by the user fees, which works out to be, like we said, about just over 1% of mean household income. So that's the update on the wastewater side of things. Again, we're still moving forward with kind of what the next steps would be as far as, you know, beginning to talk to landowners on things. And of course, we have that charter item on the town meeting warning that has to pass. Once the charter language passes the town, it's got to go to the legislature. I have been working with Felicia to reserve a bill number. Luckily, she works in GovOps, which is the committee this would start in. So I think we might be able to actually get this through this session. If not, it would go to the legislature in the next biennium, which would still give us time to get it in place to start it working when we need it. Yeah, Sue.
Yeah, Charlie, how much land is required for the wastewater treatment plant itself? You know, how much land do you require?
So I don't have an actual acreage figure. If I had to like do a total back of the envelope, you might be looking at like 15 acres altogether as far as like the footprint of stuff goes.
Yeah.
But essentially the design is to have 3 different what they call disposal fields, which would be essentially those big fields to allow for the gray water filtration.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you share where where the lots are that you're looking at, or not? That's not public, maybe not public knowledge yet.
I mean, all of the potential sites are in the preliminary engineering report, which is out there. Folks can look at it. You know, there's a couple sites up on Black Falls Road.
Okay.
There's a site up on 242 across from Purrier Farm Road, and there's another site up above the center on the south side of the Trout River. So we do have sites in mind, but we have not gone back to start any conversations with landowners around purchase agreements or anything like that. That would be the next step.
Yep. Okay.
Hey, Barry, I see your hand up. Feel free to go ahead.
Yep.
And jump in.
Okay, am I unmuted? Am I you hearing me?
Yep, hear you okay.
Okay. Would the land above the disposal sites, could that be used for any kind of agriculture, or even, you know, corn for cows or
Yeah, so I've started conversations like 2 years ago with the Department of Ag on this. And the understanding I have so far is that we probably wouldn't be able to do any tilling. So like a cornfield wouldn't work. But I think there's a good chance that we would still be able to have those areas in a hay crop. I still need to go back and get kind of confirmation of that, because working my way through the chain of A&R, the answer I kept getting was like, maybe, I think so, but I'm not going to tell you yes. I got to talk to so-and-so, and so still trying to work that out. But the hope would be that we would be able to, at least in one or two of them, still be able to maintain a hay crop on those fields, because the disposal system would be subsurface enough that the compaction of a tractor wouldn't hurt it, and you wouldn't, the gray water would be essentially low enough in the water table that it wouldn't impact the crop.
Oh.
That's the hope and the expectation. Again, I don't have like a green light from Department of Ag on that, or DEC. It's another thing we need to chase down to get clarity on. Yeah, Merle, go ahead.
Is the cost of land acquisition in that chart you showed somewhere?
Yep. Yeah. That's baked into the overall project cost. But one of the potential uses of that first state ARPA grant would be to facilitate acquisition. It's not to say right now that that's the plan we're going to use it for, but there are funds to go towards that. Yep. And then as final engineering occurs, because this has been brought up a few times, is the cost of materials. So preliminary engineering came up with the overall project budget. That did have contingencies in place for material fluctuations, as well as the amount of materials. But as we move into final engineering, that will give us a much better idea of exactly how much of what kind of pipe, how much of that pipe we're going to need. That'll give us a much better idea of the amount of materials. And then based on that, we can then cross-check against material costs right now. So we are aware that materials have gone up. But we think the gap isn't as big as it would turn the project off, and we'll nail that down as we get into final engineering. Any other questions? All right, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to the municipal website updates. Emily, have you had a chance to reconnect with Liz or Zach or anybody about this?
I did have the opportunity to reconnect with Liz and Genevieve about this. What we did is we sat down and really went through our town website with a fine-tooth comb to look at what is happening there. We're feeling like there are some specific points that just aren't really working at this point in time. We were able to identify some problems and some potential solutions to make the website more accessible. I have written up a report of our conversations, what the conclusions were that we came to looking at things and really going through things. I'm going to email this report out to select board members, but just very briefly, some of the problems that we identified are just accessibility. We find that the website's difficult to navigate. Both Liz and Genevieve report that a lot of people call in because they can't find the things that they're looking for and are having a really hard time using it. And so they're spending time trying to walk people through the use of the website over the phone, which is just, I think, doubly inefficient. And it's sort of a turnoff for people if they're not digital natives, I would say, to try to go through that process. Appearance of the website, it kind of seems like the website has been cobbled together to fit into a pre-existing template or structure that maybe was used for something else or for a different town. Given that it is the digital face of the town, we were able to look at a bunch of other town websites to see things that were not only appealing and attractive, but really efficient, and made for navigability of the site, for people that are comfortable and people that, maybe are a little bit less comfortable online. There are a lot of inaccuracies currently on the website, and there are just points of confusion. Everything from the fact that, typical citizens might not know the difference between boards and departments, and so finding the information that they're looking for is difficult. The office hours that pop up for everybody are the town clerk hours, and so people are running into issues thinking that certain people are in the building and they're not. Some of the boards and committees, the membership has not been updated, just things like that. And then we got into a discussion about the workflow of the website, and that essentially what's happening is when something needs to be updated on the website, Liz, Genevieve, Charlie, all of you are putting together what needs to be updated and the text of what needs to be updated, and then emailing for that update to happen, and then waiting for that update to happen, and then going back and checking that the update happened, and if it didn't, following up with another email. And so, coming up with solutions about the possibility of management of a municipal website in-house and what that could look like, as well as restructuring the website overall. Again, I'm going to send out what all of this conversation was and all of the things that we came to conclusions on after going through the website, both together and independently, and then doing some research on other town websites. Essentially, what I think will be happening is that we'll be asking the board for a designation of some ARPA funding in order to hopefully redo the website. And then looking at the possibility of managing the workflow of the website in-house, would not necessarily be any change in finances for the town, but possibly a shift away from that monthly stipend going to Zach for website management, and maybe staying in-house as an additional responsibility for either Liz or Genevieve. They've both expressed like interest in it and that they think that they could do that. Obviously there would have to be an understanding that it's in addition to the responsibilities, and we'd have to get with Aaron to figure out how that works, as far as like their contractual obligations for hours and payment and whatnot. So that was a lot all at once, but I'm happy to send this out and then come back to it and answer questions unless people have questions now, and I can do my best.
Great. Any questions for Emily? Just want to make sure we have any board questions.
My internet's being terrible tonight. I missed the beginning of this. Was it ever determined that is Zach like contracted? Does he have like an existing contract for this job, or is it something that you would put out to bid for other people as far as designing, or what's the thought on that?
Yeah, right now, my understanding is we don't have a term contract with Zach. It's basically just an ongoing kind of agreement that we've got.
Okay.
I think what we probably need to do is once we figure out kind of how the best to approach the items that Emily talked about, I think what we need to do is probably figure out, at least in my head, we've kind of got two buckets of activity. One is management of the website, getting it kind of like, how are things posted, who does that, timeliness, editing content. The other thing would be like building it. And so one question in my head is like, you know, does somebody like Zach or somebody else actually build the website and then make it something that then the town office could manage? Or is it something like, so like, I think there's two questions there as far as building it and managing it goes. I assume if we did decide that we were going to do a brand new restructure, revamp of like the website build, and that wasn't something that could be done in-house, then we'd probably put it out to bid. Okay, Barry, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm hoping that when it's redone, it'll be done in a manner so that individual boards and commissions and departments and whatever can themselves get into it and put their notices up rather than having to submit it to somebody and waiting for them to do it.
Yeah, we can certainly look at the functionality of that. I think, you know, we want to balance access and ease of access with also just kind of the stopgaps around like who's getting in there and monkeying with it, you know?
Yeah, it has to be limited, of course.
Yeah.
I think that there are ways to allow access to specific portions of a website to designated individuals, and that's something that we can definitely dig deeper into. Charlie, I absolutely agree with you. I think that there's two things in question here. One is the like build and design and layout, and then the other is the ongoing management, just as you said. I do think that as far as the build, design, layout of the website, one of the things that we really need to consider is the management at the same time, and who's going to be managing it and using it to make sure that the design is like accessible for and editable for them to make sure that it's current.
Yeah, 100%. We don't want to build something that no one else can use but the builder, if the intent is to have, you know, staff or boards editing content. 100%. Great. Anything else on the website discussion?
Did you find out, Charlie? I know that one of the things that we'd talked about recently was that we're sort of told by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns to kind of like pause on the use of ARPA funds. Have they come back with some clarity about that, or are we still on pause?
I haven't seen anything from Kathy. Yeah, Kathy, shoot. The VLCT ARPA basic desk. I will reach back out to her tomorrow to clarify that. So yeah, I don't know. So we're still kind of paused on spending anything at this point. But I'll find out, because I haven't, typically that guidance would come back out through one of their municipal email blasts. And I don't recall seeing any updates on that front, but I will certainly reach out to her.
And in that process, unless you already have clarity, I know one of the things that we talked about at a previous meeting, I think it was probably back in either late November or December, was the bidding process around using ARPA funding, and if we need to get multiple bids on projects, or if we can just go ahead if we find a vendor or a person that is, you know, able to do the work that we're looking for.
Yeah, I'll also inquire about that. I know that we do have our own procurement policy that the board has looked at and adopted in the past, which kind of sets benchmarks for certain things in terms of going out to bid. So we'll want to kind of line up both of those. But I'll ask about specific requirements for the ARPA funds.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. Well, if we're good on the website, oh, yeah, hi, Merle. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, at the present time, how do we update, for instance, the information at the Methodist Church? We haven't had a pastor for about 4 months now. How do we go about updating the information for the church?
Is there information for the church on the town website?
Well, it comes, yeah, you know, when you go to these, I forget how you get there, but there's other, I don't know how it's called. I haven't used it for a while. But I know the last I looked, the pastor's name was still there.
Okay, I mean, we can certainly add that. I know there's, as Emily said, there's a number of things that need to get updated in terms of board composition and things like that. So if the name is up there wrong, it should be an easy enough fix. We'll flag that for Zach or for the next round of updates that we do.
Okay. Maybe I should send Pacific information for you.
Yeah, if you got an email with the new information,
Yeah.
that'll make it easy just to swap it. So
Make it easier for you. Thank you.
great. Okay, well, let's hop over to the next item under old business, town meeting 2022. So there's not a whole lot of work to do tonight on that. Basically, the warning's been set, the ballot's up. We did have an issue with the ballot that was posted online. The Excel export to a PDF screwed up, and so some of the names were left off, certain races. That's all been fixed, and the correct ballot has been posted now on the website. So if anybody had any questions about that, the correct one has been posted there, and the correct one's posted, hard copies around town. The only question for the board tonight, as we talked about, the town report is going to be finalized, Wednesday, hopefully. So we just need to make the decision about the cover. I had sent just an email to the board previously about one of the candidates with a summary that was written up. And so just looking for board consensus on that candidate, and if the board is comfortable moving forward with that cover candidate for a year.
I was fine with the candidate you sent us. Yeah.
Okay.
I was as well.
Yep, likewise.
Okay, great. Good. And I think we've got that bio down on the picture, so we'll move forward with that. And as always, some folks have sent other names today about consideration. So we'll just keep a running list so that we've gotten ready for next year, because I know that we've got some other great names to consider. Awesome. Well, the town report, like I said, will be out soon. That was the only update or conversation around town meeting day. Again, Australian ballot, all that good stuff. So there's nothing else under old business. We can move on to new business. We've got a couple overweight truck permits. I will note that the agenda has Goslings, Bournes, and Newport Sand and Gravel. I thought that I had scanned copies of all of those here this evening. It appears though that I only have Bournes and Goslings, and so we'll table Newport Sand and Gravel. But what I'll do is share my screen now so that our road commissioner can check these out. So first up, we've got Bournes Inc. and Bournes Propane, DBA Bournes Energy. And here's what we're looking at for the trucks.
Yeah, that one looks fine.
Great. And that was it for them. And then we've got RG Goslin. How do those look, Mark?
Yeah, those look good.
80,000, great. And this is Goslin Water Wells.
Yeah, those are fine.
Great. And I will stop share, and entertain a motion to approve Goslings and Borns.
I'll make a motion to approve Gosland and Born Energies overweight truck permits.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Great, thanks, Leanne. Any further discussion? All right, hearing no further discussion, we will vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. We have no liquor or tobacco licenses, and so that brings us through to the end of our agenda. If there's no, oh, Sue, hi, yep.
I just have a question, and it actually is for Mark. On the overweight truck permits, and I'm just asking this for myself, on a general, the SAP trucks, how much do they weigh when they're going on our roads? Like if it's full, a SAP truck?
I would say,
I mean, are they over the limit, or should they be getting?
no, they're still, they're on the limit. They're under the limit, but
Oh,
it's just, these other ones, we limit them for mud season. We put a
Well,
stamp.
that's the SAP trucks too.
I really think they need to come in and get a overweight truck
But
permits too.
that's what I was that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
getting at.
Yeah, we're working on that.
The challenge there, Sue, is that SAP's considered an agricultural product.
Yeah.
Agriculture,
So same with milk trucks.
right.
They're exempt from this permit
Well,
requirement.
they are exempt. Oh, okay. Well, that answers the question.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that's why we're still trying to work with folks locally in terms of, making sure that we have conversations up front around when they're running, how they're running, working with guys to get, longer lines down to some of the paved roads or state highways. So it's a
Yep.
process.
Right. And I understand that Kane, the one that's up on the Reagan Road and having the Christmas tree farm, he's apparently gone to a lot of the people that live on the Reagan Road, and introduced himself and said that, because he got the pipes underground.
yeah, he's got the pipe run down to
Right,
the main.
and so he said that he hoped that, things would be better, because he knows that his trucks did some damage up. But anyway, he's reached out to the neighbors up there, which I think
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the better neighbors we can be, the better we'll all be.
Exactly.
I had a question for you, Sue.
Oh,
What do you want me to do with the banners? I've got them in the garage.
could you just put them upstairs? Lay them like underneath the, on our rack, because I want to come and I want to wipe them down. And
Okay,
then I just need to buy another bin to put them in.
okay,
But if you could just lay them flat on the wreath, on the bottom,
yeah.
and so
Yeah,
they
I'll
keep
cover-
some more
I'll
dirt.
cover them
off
up so they don't get dusty. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. But I want
I'll
to
do-
come and wipe them all down, and we want to come up also, and we're going to remove the lights that work from the wreaths, so
Okay.
that we don't get rid of the lights.
Okay,
We can save the lights, so we're going to be doing that.
okay. I'll
Okay,
do that.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great. If there's no other business to be conducted, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Great. Thanks, Suzanne. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leanne. If there's no discussion, and hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Great. Any
Thank
opposed?
you, everybody. Oh,
Any abstentions? Great. We will adjourn the meeting at 7:35.
thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
everybody.